All right, everybody. We're about ready to get started. It looks like we're going to have a smaller group, so if you wouldn't mind just scooting together a little bit so we could focus our attention a little bit here. And we're here to talk about a fireside chat, transforming productivity with AI and behavioral insights. So let me set the stage for you. How many of your meetings look like this back at your company? We have one lady here on the left-hand side. She's on her computer. She's probably sending a couple emails. There's this guy right here next to her. He's on his phone. He's totally distracted. He might be on Snapchat. He looks like a millennial. There's two people here. They're actually paying attention. They're actively engaged in the conversation. And what you don't see is on the phone, there's probably another 4 people who are on mute. They're not paying attention. They're working from home. They'd be lucky if they're out of their pajamas. Does that sound like any meetings you guys are in? Yep. Okay. Oops, sorry. What about another scenario? If you're trying to push something through a business process, find you're just filling out the same form over and over again, sending the same information to multiple people. And at the end of it, you think to yourself, oh, it's super efficient. I want to do it again, right? No? No? Yeah. And then when you look at different teams, do you find some teams are super engaged and constantly delivering and productive, and then other teams are kind of just trudging through the day? I'm sure you have some hypotheses about what makes those teams different. Is it the manager? Is it the project they're working on? Is it one team's just had better training than the other team? Those are all really important questions, and it's really hard to figure out the answer to those. And then a last scenario for you all. How many people in this room are at inbox 0 in their work emails? One? I'm going to give you the mic. You can come up here. No, most of us, we're not. There's just so much constantly coming at us all the time. It's just tough to respond to all the emails and meetings that pop up on our calendar. And we get home, and instead of spending time with family and recharging, we find ourselves on the computer trying to catch up on stuff that we weren't able to do during the workday. And honestly, that's the nature of being a knowledge worker today. Our jobs are to soak up information and process it and act on it. And if you look across the economy today, that's not just a human level problem. It up-levels to an organizational level problem as well. When we look at inefficient meetings, just think, if there's a meeting that 12 people don't need to be in, but they're in that meeting for an hour, that's a day and a half of employee time that's wasted by one meeting alone. Scale that to the organizational level, how much time is wasted in those inefficient meetings? Or when you look at bureaucratic business processes, how much friction does that add to the company and to the workflow? Or when you look at employee engagement, I mean, it's really expensive to train new workers and to bring them on board and deal with people that are quitting or people that are burned out from collaboration overload. So solving these problems is really important. And in fact, 75% of organizations today, they're actively engaged in some kind of large-scale transformation project to build efficiency and build agility and competitiveness. But the harsh reality is that most of these transformations are going to fail to meet their stated objectives. In fact, 50% of all transformations that are ongoing right now will fail because people's behavior doesn't change to support the transformation initiative. Another 20% or so fail for other reasons, but 50% of all transformations fail because behaviors don't change. And that's hard, right? Behavioral change is hard, it's difficult. But there's a common set of things that we know to look for that are metrics, and it's just common things that we find across business transformations that are important. So things like networks. Are your employees connected to the right people? Are they connected to enough people so that they can get the information that they need? Are they connected to too many people? Are their jobs overly complex? Would they benefit from making those jobs more efficient? And then things like meeting quality and email quality. Do we have a culture of over-collaboration? Manager time, are managers there to help our employees grow and bridge silos and break down barriers? And then things like collaboration hours. So when we look at how much collaboration is spent in specific business processes, often we find that that number is just, it blows out our preconceived conceptions. So we know that we have to base transformations in people's behavior to make them really effective and change. But behavioral change is hard, and we know there's some metrics that are really important to look at so these transformations are effective. And where do these metrics come from? Well, for us, they come from the Microsoft Graph. And the Microsoft Graph, if you're not familiar with it, it's the largest collection of human activity and interactions in the workplace that's ever been assembled. So when your employees are using everyday collaboration tools like email and calendar, digital footprints from those interactions are stored in the Microsoft Graph. And this data, it's a natural byproduct of everyday work, so your employees don't need to do anything differently for this data to start collecting. They don't need to fill out timesheets or respond to surveys. It's just a natural byproduct of their everyday workflow. And as a Microsoft 365 customer, you already have access to this data historically. It's already there for you, so that once you start tapping it, the data is already there for you to start making decisions. And when you think about the Microsoft Graph, like to really illustrate the power of it, if you think about the companies that are the vanguards of the AI revolution today, who do you think of? Anybody? Which companies do you see leading AI? Companies like Microsoft and Facebook and Google, right? And if you think, what separates those companies from everybody else? Well, a company like Facebook, they've digitized human relationships. So that way, any actions that happen on Facebook are naturally stored to the Facebook Graph. And once they've collected this data set, then they can start doing really interesting and sophisticated things on top of it with AI. Well, the Microsoft Graph, it's the digitization of the relationships that happen within your companies. So interactions that you have between your coworkers or between suppliers and partners and customers, digital footprints from those are stored in the Microsoft Graph, and then you can start leveraging that data to do your own AI and analytics and machine learning on top of it. And that's where our group comes in. So Microsoft MyAnalytics and Workplace Analytics, we take this raw graph data and we do the hard work. We layer on sophisticated intelligence and business logic and feature engineering. And then we take that data and we surface it to you so that you can identify insights that are relevant to your business and take action. So first off, we have Microsoft MyAnalytics over here on the left-hand side. MyAnalytics is like the Fitbit for work. It takes this enriched behavioral data to deliver insights to individuals about how they personally spend their time. So the saying goes, you manage what you measure, right? And with this data, individuals are better able to manage their time. And then in addition to that, we start offering intelligent insights and nudges that help guide people to more balanced and productive work habits and relationships and team norms. And on the right-hand side, we have Workplace Analytics. With Workplace Analytics, we take those individual level insights and we anonymize the data and we aggregate that up to the organizational level. And when we do that, we can start uncovering patterns about how work really gets done at your companies. What separates Group A from Group B? Or what do the top performers do differently from everybody else? And once you have that information, you can start developing change programs and training programs on top of it. And then when you link the two products together, MyAnalytics and Workplace Analytics, you can start deploying those change programs that are rooted in behaviors via MyAnalytics with intelligent nudges that help individuals on a personal level make the changes that they need to support the overall change transformation. And then with Workplace Analytics, you can measure those changes practically in real time, and you can see, are the intended changes taking effect? If they are, double down on those efforts. If they're not, let's be agile and experiment and try something different, right? And then the last thing I want to mention is the beautiful thing about this data for this audience is it's based in Microsoft 365. It's an IT data set, but it's horizontally applicable across all of your business functions. So wherever people are collaborating to get work done, Workplace Analytics can provide a lens on how that collaboration is occurring, who it's occurring with at an aggregated level, and then you can start making changes based on that new lens of information. So with that, I'd like to introduce the panelists who are actively deploying these kinds of change programs at their companies. We have Dan Cohn right here. He is the senior staff architect at Thermo Fisher Scientific. And Dan is a relatively new customer to the Workplace Analytics journey, but he has that IT perspective, which I think will resonate for a lot of the people in the room. And he has a good understanding of the competitive marketplace because he's just evaluated recently Workplace Analytics in relation to other customers or other providers. And then next we have Aaron Siegel. Aaron's the Business Transformation Manager at Freddie Mac. Aaron's been a longtime customer of Workplace Analytics. His group has applied this lens to a ton of different problems horizontally across Freddie Mac for a number of years. So if there's something that you can do with Workplace Analytics, Aaron and his team have probably thought about it and tried it out. And then last but not least, we have Sanaz Namdar. Sanaz is our Director of Behavioral Analytics for Sales at Microsoft, and she's taken this Workplace Analytics and MyAnalytics data, and she's gone a mile deep within the sales use case, and she's uncovered some really transformative insights and some really interesting ways to take this data and deliver it at an executive level and at an individual level to help drive change. So with that, I'd like to start the panel. Dan, Aaron, and Sanaz, if you could please just introduce yourself to the audience, maybe give a little bit of background about what your role is and what you do within your organization or within your function to specifically bring change to your organization at a high level.
Right. So my name is Dan Cohen. I work for Thermo Fisher Scientific, and as was mentioned, I'm a senior staff architect, which basically means I get involved in a number of different areas, whether it's our Office 365 platform that and how we are leveraging that today, whether that's our employee experience, client engineering type responsibilities. But I look across the globe and work with our 80,000 colleagues that we have in over 400 locations.
My name's Aaron Siegel. I work for Freddie Mac. We are one of two big mortgage securitizers in the nation, and my role there specifically, as Nick said, I'm part of the enterprise transformation team. So the types of things that fall into our team's kind of world are any sort of culture change initiatives, reorganizations at a low level or at a kind of corporate level. We look a lot like internal consultants, so management of various types will come to us with all sorts of different questions, and we try to kind of field those as best we can. And Workplace Analytics has been kind of really the mainstay of my job in responding to a lot of these requests.
Sanaz Namdar, Behavioral Analytics across the commercial business or sales organization at Microsoft. We are a team of about 30 business strategists, data scientists, data analysts, and data engineers. And our mission is to use data and insights to help inform our sales strategy and also empower our sellers to grow new business. We're a relatively new team. We got formed about 1.5 years ago because the company really realized that we needed to be a data-driven sales organization. We have 20,000 sellers across 100+ countries, all customer segments. So it's really important for us to be a data-driven organization and not just go by anecdotes. And when we found Workplace Analytics, it was like a gold mine. So I'll talk about the use cases in a bit.
Thank you. And then Dan, if we could start with you, since you're early on in the Workplace Analytics journey, how did Thermo Fisher Scientific start thinking about people analytics?
Right. For us, it all started back in January. Our CEO every January holds an annual leadership meeting. It brings all of our directors from across the country or across the globe to one location. We hold a conference, and then we bring in outside speakers. This last year, we brought in a speaker that talked about using people analytics and the information in there and the data that we already have to help drive solutions that typically used to be more of, oh, I feel like that this is what's happening in the organization. So we started looking, our CIO came back, he instructed us, hey, I want to take this on as an IT initiative, and so I got selected on there with a couple of my colleagues, and we started driving in, looking at a number of different solutions that were out there.
And do you have any insights on why the project was tasked or taken up by IT rather than like HR or another business function?
Really, because part of our IT function is really about servicing our business and the business areas that we have out there. We try to bring new solutions out there, how we can leverage existing data. And so that's really where it came down, is we felt that this was going to come from the IT side, the analytics, the division on there. You have to, when you're working with this, you have to understand how the systems work and how people are using the systems so that you can interpret the results correctly. So that was part of the reasons, and really you can't implement a system without IT, so why not have IT lead it?
Great. And then just one last question, since you have the mic. What differentiated Workplace Analytics and MyAnalytics from some of the other solutions that you looked at?
Right. So when we first started looking at this, we looked at a number of external parties, companies that were out there. had a whole list of companies we initially were evaluating. Some of them got quickly axed off the list simply because looking at their websites, looking at the information that was available, or talking with them, their security practices weren't up to snuff, let's say. So we then brought it down to 3 people and actually did a full proof of concept with those 3. With Workplace Analytics, it turned out for us having 13 months worth of data that can come in and be able to see that and get started right away. We didn't know exactly what we were looking for. We wanted the data to derive what was the information and draw interest from there. So the fact that Workplace Analytics gives you 13 months of data once you turn it on and ready to go and you can start driving those results was very important for us. In our case, we actually changed our target base. We only brought in 1,000 people and had that being targeted. And we went very wide with across multiple functional areas. I actually did one entire division here in the US and did 1,000 people within that division. What we found during that process is there different scenarios, like IT was one way, finance worked a little bit different, sales worked a little bit different. It didn't quite give us enough depth in there. So in the middle of our POC, we actually switched our target base and we decided to go vertical. We went in an entire functional area and had them actually, that's who we'd switch to. And we were able to derive some real results from that way. So 13 months worth of data allowed for us to do that. And then the broad spectrum that we got from Workplace Analytics actually helped. We were actually able to identify initially about $16 million out of those 1,000 people of meetings that were low quality meetings. And that really stuck with us, and so we started driving in on that.
And when you say low quality, you mean meetings that in general just have people that are offering a redundant perspective, or people that are multitasking in those meetings?
Or conflicting meetings on there, so most likely they were on their cell phone on one side, their regular phone on another, or they were going through sending a bunch of emails, like you mentioned, multitasking. Or the big one that you also mentioned that we found was redundancy. So 3 or more people within the same functional area attending the same meeting. A VP, a director, an engineer, all attending the same meeting. We found a lot of that when we started driving into the data.
Mm-hmm. And then based on that, I'm assuming you can find some really specific ways to target change.
We did. We actually, when we started looking at the data, and the ability to go out and customize the metrics was probably the other thing that we really sent us over for here. So the fact that we can look at our own data, drive our own metrics, build our own dashboards, allowed us to actually focus on 3 different meeting types that we had out there. Our quarterly business reviews, our annual budgeting cycle, and our strategic planning meetings. So we actually started driving into those. We found that we spend about 3 to 6 times, depending on which one of those meetings, in man hours in those meetings than what we have initially anticipated. So working with our senior VPs of our finance area who had been trying to track some of those hours or in industry, we actually brought the results back to them. We found that we had 11,000 meetings within 1 year talking about one of those 3 subjects. And over 46,000 emails that were sent during those meetings, and that ended up consuming a little over 82,000 man hours for those meetings, just for those 3 topics.
Wow. Yeah, that's insane. When you hear headlines like that, you really understand the scale and the level of inefficiencies that happen within our companies. So Aaron, based on your perspective, I mean, you've been a long-time user, but looking back, what did it take to get this new lens on problems actually accepted and people to feel comfortable with it?
Sure, yeah, definitely. So Freddie Mac has been using Workplace Analytics since about September 2015. So Microsoft had just recently acquired the kind of startup of Volumetrics, what it was called before, and right after that we started working with them. And initially our CEO actually saw an article in the Wall Street Journal, and the article was talking about this system that could pull metadata from your email and calendar and tell you, are our meetings too big? Are we holding, meetings with the wrong people? Who's interacting with who and how much? And to your point, are some of these meetings becoming more time intensive, even if we're not necessarily doing anything that would require that? So when he initially asked us to go look at the software, we had just come out of a complete company-wide reorganization that our team was involved in, and the CEO said, okay, well, in addition to the things that you've done in the reorg, can you figure out other ways for us to become more efficient, to make people's lives better at work, and check out the software and see. So when we started looking into it, a couple things became obvious very clearly, and it became obvious that we have really big meetings with way too many people. We kind of joke internally that we call it the Thanksgiving Day table meeting, where you've got 50 people, he's there and she's there and he's there with all of his team. And, so a lot of the problems that we saw initially were problems that really resonated with people in their daily lives. So, to kind of answer the question more directly, we did a couple things really specifically to build buy-in early on. So one of the things that I would say is most important is to find business leaders who want to make some sort of change and identify very specific problems that they have. So I can give a couple examples. So we had one of the divisions in our company had incredibly high turnover at the junior level. So, we're talking 30-40% turnover, really, really super high. And we worked with some consultants who came in who said, well, we think maybe a great solution will be to require all of the managers in this area to guarantee one-on-one time with their direct reports, one-on-one coaching time, not to talk about the work they did this week, but to talk about their coaching and their development, to guarantee that's on the calendar. One-on-one meeting hours with the manager happens to be a metric that is easily pullable right out of the box from Workplace Analytics, and we saw a direct one-to-one correlation with the managers had more one-on-ones and the attrition got cut more than in half. So when you do things like that and you start tackling problems that business leaders directly have a stake in, then they're a lot more interested in, okay, well, what else can you do? So another big one was our CFO came to us and he said, we're going into budget season. Are you able to help us understand if we're onboarding people effectively, or can you help us understand which areas of the company seem to be more efficient or seem to have kind of a better work practices? And we said, sure. And so we started looking at onboarding, and we found that in some areas, people were doing a fantastic job of onboarding, and new employees by a variety of metrics were coming in, they were getting up to speed, they felt good, they felt engaged. And then in other areas, that wasn't so much the case. And being able to show him that and help tackle that exact issue, a really precise business problem to say, in this area, it appears, and again, we can't guarantee this is just email and calendar, but by our metrics, it appears that directors are not delegating to managers. Or in this area, wow, it appears that there's fantastic delegation, people are really getting on board quickly. Can we take some of the things that the leader's doing in the area that things look great, and can we apply some of those same principles in the areas where, perhaps things look a little bit more hierarchical or a little bit more siloed? So it really, once we were able to do that, we got some really big people on our side. The head of our single family business, which is our largest business line, so that's our single family mortgages. The CFO got on board very early, and we had several groups in IT. And with this being an IT audience, our IT area, and this is probably very familiar to you guys, had a lot of recurring meetings with a lot of people, where the meetings were short enough that they didn't come to a business decision, so the outcome was another meeting. And so you just had people, we had developers or coders who should be relatively low in collaboration time because they should be at their desks getting their work done. They were getting dragged to meetings over and over, and it wasn't that they were scheduling them, it was that other groups were imposing that load on them. So we were able to kind of tackle specific problems in these areas, build different leaders throughout the company who felt very comfortable with what the data says, what it doesn't say, and which business problems it can really address. And that really helped us a lot.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like you put up a lot of trial balloons or a lot of trial projects in different sides of the company, and then you use that to build support individually in those locations, and then pulled that support together so that you could start taking on broader initiatives.
Yeah, exactly.
And from our talks earlier, you mentioned that you've created a center of excellence around workplace analytics within your team. What has that done for both your status within the company and then also your visibility across the different initiatives that are ongoing, the different priorities that your executives have?
Yeah, so for my team, being sort of internal consultants, being kind of the reorg guys, some people were nervous coming to talk to us before they kind of realized, before we got this tool, because they said, oh, well, if we go to Aaron's team, Paul's team, they're just basically reorg consultants and they can't really add any value. Once we started to show that we had these tools, that we could make people's lives better, and that this wasn't, a headcount question, this was a question of improving people's schedules. A lot of people have chopped up calendars. We can help you with that. We can help you understand who are your top customers internally. that really changed the perspective internally as to who we were. And so now we have situations where, I mean, just last week actually, our CFO went to his direct reports and he said, each and every one of you should go talk to this team because I have a question on this specific type of issue. And the outcome of that was we built some dashboards. We were able to show some really significant differences in leadership styles that had some effects, and specifically tying into the engagement, kind of engagement survey stuff and performance. And you know, again, to the point, we've started working very closely with HR. And you know, our team is in sort of our administration division. We're in kind of the catch-all division that has like our corporate services group. It has us. It has you know, procurement. It has some of these kind of more administrative type functions. But we're working very closely with our HR group now, because a lot of the stuff that we're doing with Workplace Analytics ties in very well with engagement and with performance. And when you start talking to leaders and you start saying, I can help your engagement go up, or I can help people in your areas feel better about the work that they're doing, feel more engaged, feel more active, feel like they're getting better messaging from their leaders. People are very interested in that. People definitely want to take us up on that. So, you know, as far as our popularity in the company, it's exploded. we are pretty much firing on all cylinders now. And also worth mentioning, you know, Nick showed the MyAnalytics dashboard up there. We actually don't have that yet, so we are only on Workplace Analytics. That by itself has been super powerful. We are probably going to be migrating to 365, hopefully within the next 3 to 6 months. And so we're starting to develop those rollout plans for MyAnalytics. And when you talk about coalitions across the company, we're really building a lot of partners to help us roll that out, so that when it does come out, people understand, what is this? How can I use it? How can I use this to improve my own scheduling? And so in terms of kind of our visibility across the company, we deal with people all the way from the CEO, CFO, the C-suite, all the way down to, you know, rank and file directors, managers, staff level people. And a lot of it just is very targeted depending on what people want to accomplish. And we're able to service a huge variety of different business cases.
Mm-hmm. And some of the things that you just mentioned, those are common things that we hear from customers. And in my conversations that I've had at Ignite already, customers hear Workplace Analytics, and for some, they start thinking that in a negative connotation, like, oh, this data can be used for potential performance issues. But what you've found that makes this data set most successful is that you approach a lot of problems around defragging people's schedules or giving back time so that they have improved work-life balance or engagement or productivity, and you use that to generate goodwill for this.
Yeah, it's a great point. And one of the things that we've done, you know, when you start to hear about this data, everybody's instinct is, my God, they're looking at my emails, they're looking at my calendar, they're going to try to figure out, you know, who's good, who's bad. That's not at all what we're doing. And in order to hammer that point home, we go out and we tell people exactly what we're doing. We go to town halls, we host brown bag lunches, we do presentations to employees of all levels and say, here's what this data is being used for, here's what it can do, here's what it can't do, right? So a lot of people are concerned that this data may show that I'm not working very hard. It's really not so good at that. It's really good at saying that some people are overworked, but you know, if you're looking at this and you're saying, oh wow, somebody's low on this metric or that, there's a couple things at play. Number one, it's not the end all be all. So if you are like a coder, or if you're an accountant or a modeler, you're nose down doing your job, we're not going to pull a great signal for you.
And that's a good thing.
And that's a good thing. You know, and I brought this up earlier that our developers were showing a really high signal. It's not a good thing that they are collaborating a lot, because that's not the intention of that job family. So to squash some of the privacy concerns, you know, certainly legal signs off, compliance signs off, everybody who needs to signs off on the relevant privacy things. But to really communicate with the employees is critical, and to say that this is being used at a macro level to help figure out where we can help your day get better. Where can we help you be more productive? Where can we help you feel less slammed? Where can we increase empowerment? Right? So one of the big things that we're doing is leadership effectiveness, and saying, wow, in this area, it really looks like, you know, things are getting pushed down the chain as far as they can. We have, you know, a lot of stuff that used to be at the director and officer level is now getting pushed down to managers and staff. That's really good for those people's visibility. We have metrics like skip level interactions, so I can tell you how often, I mean, not you specifically because, you know, it's aggregated data, but I can tell in an area, how often do staff in this area get to interact with officers? That's a big deal for a lot of staff people to, you know, number one, for their professional development, and number two, to help them feel engaged and connected with the leadership in that area. So once people understand what we're doing, nobody has a problem with this at all. And the most effective way for that to happen is to just go straight to them and say, we're not hiding anything. We've got, you know, nothing's going on here that you should feel big brotherish about. You know, we're going to show you exactly what we're doing, and it's going to help you. It's going to make your day better. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And Sanaz, in contrast to Aaron's team's approach of going broad, a mile wide in the use cases that you approach with Workplace Analytics, your team has targeted specifically in sales. So what kinds of things are you able to identify using this data set that you wouldn't have been able to see using traditional analytics data sets that you had access to?
Sure. So I'll talk a bit about our maturity journey, because I think we're on a journey, and you know, we started with more basic use cases, and I think as we learn more and we learn how to work with the product, you know, we're getting more advanced. So as many of you know, we just about a year and a half ago, we went through a massive sales reorganization at Microsoft. This impacted thousands of people. We introduced a number of new roles, new orgs, and thousands of sellers had to interact and collaborate with other roles or with other customers in a different way. So we had a really good idea of what we wanted to happen with the new blueprint, with the new sales model. We also hired thousands of new people as well. But we really kind of had no idea what's going on, right? So you build the blueprint, you build the strategy, and then you hope that things are working out. So Workplace Analytics really helped us map out collaboration across different orgs, different roles, with customers as well, because you know, in the email to line, you can look at the contact name, the domain, and we basically map that against our CRM contact database, and we know exactly who we're collaborating with, who are the customers. And what was interesting is that we saw, because we had a lot of account transitions as well, we had a lot of people move accounts or get transitioned to a larger number of accounts or lower number of accounts. And as a result of that, we had a red carpet program which we needed to hand off with the customers. And what we learned was that some of the customer collaboration time was kind of fluctuating as a result of that. So that really helped us identify areas where we needed to do more of a coaching or making sure that the teams are collaborating, informing the area leads that we really need to kind of help make sure that the new blueprint or the new org is landing. So that was one example. But then we took a further step ahead and we said, let's connect collaboration patterns. So we know how things are supposed to work. This is a strategy. But let's try to connect these collaboration patterns to our sales outcomes and see if there's a secret sauce or if there's something that some account teams are doing better than others. And to your point, really use a positive use case. So not use it as a way to performance manage people and go say you're not doing the right thing, but really use it as a way to benchmark and create best practices, right? We always talk about best practices at Microsoft, and a lot of times it's about going out there and asking people what they do, but this is really about looking at the data directly correlated with sales outcomes. So we looked at our top quartile high growth accounts versus our bottom growth accounts, year-over-year revenue growth. And it was very interesting. We looked at the collaboration patterns with the accounts in the top quartile versus the bottom quartile. And we basically saw that we collaborate twice as much with our higher growth accounts than our lower growth accounts. And we have twice as many customer contacts in our higher growth accounts. So that was like, wow. What we don't know is correlation versus causality. We don't know if they're growing faster because we're spending more time with them and we have more contacts with them, or we have more contacts with them because they're growing, right? So we never know that until we do like control group testing. But what was visible was that some of these lower growth accounts, we spent less time with them, so we knew that. And then we kind of looked at the total addressable market in our lower growth accounts, because we said, well, maybe they're not growing because they're never going to buy from us, or they're really not in our market. And that was not true. There were actually about 10% of those accounts were in our top potential customers. So it was very clear that we're just not spending enough time with them, and if we did, potentially we could grow them more. So that informed our sales coverage model. We made some adjustments to how we covered some of these accounts in terms of allowing for more customer time. So that was one example. The other example was customer satisfaction. It's really key, right, to anything we do. We want to know that what we do with our customers ultimately is helping them become satisfied with Microsoft. So we again looked at collaboration with the customers, email and calendar, and we looked at correlation between that and customer satisfaction. And what was again very interesting, it was just a very direct line. The more we talk to our customers, the happier they are. And that was very true in the enterprise segment, right? What's interesting in that in our small, medium-sized segment, it went up and then it kind of went down. So there was an inflection point, which meant, you know, those cold calls maybe after a certain point don't really make a difference. But there is a sweet spot, right? There is a limit to which collaboration matters. So after that point, we partnered with our customer satisfaction team, their data science team, who had built a machine learning model to predict customer satisfaction. Because again, with surveys, you know, obviously we send out quarterly surveys to our customers to understand how happy they are, but at the same time, you want to be able to predict that with all the data that we've had over the years. So they had this model that predicted customer satisfaction based on historical data, license revenue, you know, a lot of other data that they basically had collected over the years. And their accuracy was 78% of the model. Was 78%. We gave them collaboration data at the account level, and it's not just the individual data, right? It's basically all Microsoft collaboration with a customer, and you can think of it, it goes from marketing teams to engineering teams to sales teams, and so forth, and the partner teams as well. So when they incorporated collaboration data into their model, WPA data became the #1 attribute in predicting customer satisfaction, and it also increased their accuracy to 93%. So now we have a very powerful model with WPA, and once we saw that, we realized how much more opportunity we have in the ML space with our forecasting our business, a number of other things that we're just trying to experiment with to get more predictive with our business, since we have such rich data set that we didn't use before.
Mm-hmm. And when you think about partnering with some of those other teams, I mean, it sounds like you've also built a center of excellence with the Workplace Analytics data so that you can work across business groups, even though it may be within the sales function more broadly. But what are some of the other... How has this enabled you to partner with teams that might not have looked to the sales strategy group before?
Yeah, I think it's really, so as you said, we have created a center of excellence in the strategy organization because it really makes sense it really takes time for the data for the team to really understand the data. So it makes sense to have a center of excellence where you have a team of experts on the data who can then go out there, talk to other organizations, talk to other teams, and really use the power of what they've built to expand. So what we learned early on was that it wouldn't make sense for us to have this data sit in every area, in every subsidiary, in every country, and having them spend their time trying to figure out what to do with the data. So because of that, I think we're getting more and more questions and inquiries from our stakeholders in the field or corp organization, which also helps us define those use cases that are more meaningful for them, and really collaborate and build on each other's work and not really duplicate across the board.
Mm-hmm. Cool, thanks. Mm-hmm. And then maybe Dan, if we can go back to you, can you describe from an IT perspective the implementation process that you've undertaken with Workplace Analytics, and talk about some of the groups that you've tried to build momentum with so that this can carry forward?
Right. As far as the implementation, since we're already an Office 365 shop, it really came down to taking those 1,000 licenses and just assigning them to people's accounts inside of Office 365. Within a week, we had data. Within 2 weeks, we had all the data for all 1,000 people. The only reason why we didn't have all the data in the first week is we were assigning licenses on Friday, and some of our users missed that Friday cutoff time when the data is actually gathered. Other than that, that's it. I mean, from a setup perspective, that's all we really had to do. Then what we started doing is we worked with your team, and actually we have a person that's assigned to us. We start reviewing the metrics, seeing what's happening out there, presenting that with our leadership. So we presented the data back to our CIO. That's when we started changed our focus, and the tool allows us to do that. By reassigning those licenses, it really allowed us to change the focus and then drill down in there. And then working with the team, it helps us understand the metrics. We're learning this process. We're learning what data is useful for us, and we don't know what questions we need to ask until we start seeing some of the data, and that's really what helped us. Being able to go through and do the customization of the metrics and saying, hey, I want to be able to see how many level 3 people on here, how many VPs are in this meeting, how many, what's our redundancy rate, who's sending them emails. We were able to then take the data out of the system, put it into Power BI dashboards, and I can actually say how many people were a VP or higher were multitasking during meetings versus the director levels versus the engineer levels or the administrative levels that are out there. And I have those metrics, and we can actually drive into there. Or how many people were attending the meeting. One of the things that really caught us when we were looking at all the data, as much as the low quality meetings that were out there, one of the biggest driving factors that we noticed was if you were invited to one of those 3 types of meetings, you basically attended. We had over a 97%, I think it was almost 98% acceptance rate. Which really meant if we wanted to change the quality of those meetings, we had to change how we were inviting people and who was being given to those meetings. So
People have FOMO. If they see the invite,
yes,
they're worried that they'll miss the 5-minute portion of it when they could contribute, or they may get some valid information.
Right, and then when you start looking at how much overload people have and where they're at on there, where people get caught up in their meetings. If I go through and I attend a meeting and I don't have time after the meeting to send out meeting updates, then people very much have that FOMO experience of, well, if I don't show up, I don't see the information anyway because no one ever sends out the meeting minutes afterwards. And so you're always kind of playing catch up on there. So we took all that information, brought it back up, and actually presented it back to our CEO. And so our corporate leadership team has taken the data that we have. They're working on plans how to drive changes within all of our organizations and all of our divisions out there.
So it sounds like the process from an IT perspective was simple. It's just a matter of license assignment. And then from an organizational perspective, your process was like Aaron's and Sanaz's, is to develop some quick insights, or not necessarily quick insights, but simple insights that are impactful and actionable, and deliver those to try to gain executive level sponsorship.
Right, really that top-down approach. We actually evaluated MyAnalytics a couple years ago when it was first looking at it on there. Basically, the information we had is those people found it very useful trying to change, but they couldn't change their own schedules. They couldn't change the behaviors because everyone is around them. So that's why we've kind of taken we did not elect to use MyAnalytics, just like Aaron has stated he hasn't used it as well. But we're starting to get interest in here now from executive or senior leadership, and so we've actually turned MyAnalytics back on for a few folks. They're starting to drive it from a top-down approach.
So MyAnalytics would be a way for you to operationalize those insights at an executive level. Another thing that you mentioned is developing Power BI dashboards that you deliver to executives. Can you talk about how they're consuming this data and how they're making specific changes based on the data that you've operationalized?
So what we used, Power BI was more of the visuals on there. We didn't actually give the dashboard view directly to our senior leadership. We still provide that analysis. We have that within IT and with our senior leadership within IT. But for our executive leadership at the C-level above our CIO, we basically stated a story. Here's what's happening. Here's the data that we're providing, and gave that information out there. The visuals with Power BI is a matter of being able to take the data, the custom metrics, and it really allows us to drill down so I can quickly switch during the conversation of the meeting of going over the data. Oh, you want to look at a quarterly business review meeting. Okay, we put that filter on there, and then all the metrics change to that. And so really leveraging that analysis helped out with having those discussions and driving down to the details and the information.
That's great. And I think, Aaron, in my conversations with you, you've done similar things where you've used visualization products to both come up with those initial insights and then also operationalize them for your executives. Can you talk about that and how you think about how the executives are consuming those insights so that they can regularly make the changes that are needed?
Sure. So there are certain things that we kind of do within our team, and we present sort of summary insights, and then there are certain things that we'll build visualizations, and using dashboard tools and sharing resources, we'll actually push those to the customer for them to use themselves. And I think one of the biggest areas that we've had success doing that is these kind of custom keyword searches. And to get into that a little bit more, this tool doesn't just tell you how much time is spent in meetings generically or email generically. I can say, and these are real cases that we've used. So for our CFO, he's very interested in approvals related meetings. It's a kind of a proxy for bureaucracy. It tries to get to this question of, checkers checking the checkers who then check the checkers, and this whole question, which is very prominent in our company. So I'll show him very specifically only meetings or emails in which specific keywords pop up in the meeting header. So did it contain the words approve, approval, approver, review, attestation, sign off, and so we can do these things and we can show him, hey, in this area, these types of meetings are going up. We're, from the beginning of 2016 or beginning of 2017, you're up almost an hour and a half per employee per week. And he'll look at that and he'll say, my God, that's terrible. Well, let me go ahead and click down to this different group. And so, he'll have the filters and he'll be able to sift through which are the groups that are experiencing this massive rise in approvals related meetings specifically. Or a different idea, this was another customer also in finance who manages a corporate-wide sort of funding and forecasting process. And he wanted to know, okay, across the entire enterprise, what teams are spending what amount of time in this activity. And we'll go through a couple rounds of refining the keywords, but we can get to very specific types of meetings. We can specify, only show me the recurring meetings. Only show me meetings that contained at least a director and they have to be from this group. So you can get to really, really specific questions, really, really detailed, customized answers. And then the visualizations themselves are pretty straightforward. I mean, simple line chart, simple bar chart, maybe some heat maps, and then we'll just put some filters on it. We'll push that to the customer, and then whether it's the CFO at his level, whether it's a director or a manager who's kind of in the weeds trying to fight this bureaucracy, they're equipped with that tool immediately, and they feel confident that I'm not just addressing generic meetings. I'm addressing the meetings that I care about, the meetings that I have control over, and the meetings where I may have a lever of power that I can pull to actually affect change. And I think that's the critical piece, is the customization in this is so powerful, you can tailor it just to what your customer controls. Because if I give you information and it hits you, it's a problem for you, but you don't have any way to actually impact that situation, it's not as useful. So we can get very detailed in what we show you and why.
Mm-hmm. And in this particular use case, you've identified these approval meetings and the trend having gone up. And then based on that, are you able to try to implement some kind of initiative to drive down decision rights within the organization?
Yeah. So this gets to the follow-up step, right? So the first step is we go and we do these keyword searches and we say how much time is being spent, who's spending it, what level is it being spent. It's subject headers, not the body of the email. It's just the subject header. But then the next step is to say, okay, we've aggregated the numbers in terms of how much time is being spent, but now we can output the actual titles of the meetings, and we can say, I'll put together, and with the lack of visual, basically a box chart where the bigger the box, the more time is being spent in a meeting with that title. And so we'll be able to say, because in some cases, these are important meetings. I mean, we're not saying nobody should have ever approved anything. I mean, that's crazy, right? But it's a question of gearing. So and we did this. Recurring meetings were a big one here because, in our company, and I'm sure in a lot of your companies, people schedule recurring meetings because a business decision needs to be made, and then there's regular updates, regular check-ins. We invite a lot of people to them. We can go in and we can say, which are the recurring meetings that are consuming a lot of the time, and we'll say, this one is very necessary. We need the daily stand-up. We need all the people involved. That's okay. That's fine. We're not telling people to get rid of that. But then we'll get to the next one and we'll say, well, we'll show it to the business leader and we'll say, well, my people are spending time in this meeting. Why are they spending time in this meeting? And then we'll go in and we'll investigate and we'll say, what level of person? We can't say the individual specifically. We don't know. It's aggregated and anonymized, but we can help them understand very specifically which are the meetings that look like you can probably reduce a footprint, and did you organize that meeting? Because we can also say, am I pushing my time on the customer, or are they pulling me into the meeting? Who organized it? Who's controlling the meeting?
And that's at the departmental level, not the individual level.
Right, that's at the department level. So I can say that, the single family sourcing business is the one they're pulling us to so many meetings, we can't get our work done. And so we'll go in and we'll say, okay, which are the meetings that they are specifically organizing, that you're attending, and how much, and these are appropriate, these are not. And then you can get to a really specific type of change exercise. And a lot of that involves, when you get into the weeds of it, it involves sitting down with the leader who originally kind of talked to you about the initiative, and then the partner group that is imposing all this load and saying we need to get some defined meeting standards because you guys are inviting us to meetings at all hours of the day, and I may have 4 hours of time outside of meetings, but I only have 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 45 minutes there. I don't have enough time to get my work done because your people are inviting me to meetings all the time, and we need to be in those meetings, but let's get some standards around when those should occur, who should be going, those sorts of things.
That's great. So from Dan and Aaron, we've heard a lot about how these insights are used to operationalize data at a high level within the company. Sanaz, I think you and me talked earlier about how you use MyAnalytics to operationalize a lot of these insights at the individual contributor level. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so this is my favorite part because, we've been showing a lot of cool insights and dashboards to our leaders, and they're like, great, what are we doing to really drive behavioral change? How are we going to empower our sellers? How are we going to put this information at their fingertips? And we're like, oh, we've got MyAnalytics, right? MyAnalytics is a personalized email that goes to all of our employees at Microsoft once a week with all the insights on your collaboration patterns. So what we're doing is that we are basically customizing MyAnalytics for our sellers with insights that are very specific to them. Again, it's just their data for their own eyes. That data will never be shared with their managers or leadership. It's really their own data. But what we're trying to do is to also tell them what best practices there are in their area. For example, we show them a breakdown of their internal versus external time, and also showing them, hey, did you know people that had higher sales outcomes had this ratio of internal versus external time? Or you're below average for your peers in the area. You may want to think about that. Before, people basically had no idea of how they compare with their peers, and you can't really go and ask people. The other thing is showing them what their network size is within each of their customers. Because sometimes, for example, if you are managing, let's say 10, 15 accounts, it's really hard to keep track of how many people you know, how many customer contacts you actually have in each of those accounts, and how often you check in with each of them. So again, this is really putting their data in front of them every week and saying, hey, your customer network size seems to be really low in this customer. You may want to go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator and grow your network and add a few more contacts. So really helping them build their networks and maintain their networks, which is it's not a constant number. It's actually your monthly collaboration with individual number of people. So it can go down if you don't keep in touch with your customers. Again, reminding them of customers that they haven't talked to in a while. And then again, with respect to spending time with customers, and also knowing that they're spending their time with customers that have higher potentials, so really showing them, hey, it seems like you really need to be spending more time with these customers because we believe there's a big potential there. So again, giving that information to them so that they can take an action. And it should be easy nudges that they can just look at that and say, oh, okay, cool. This is going to help me schedule my next week, in a more informed way, as opposed to just doing things the way I used to do. And then lastly, also helping them keep track of all the other roles. So, I mean, we have a very complex sales organization. We have 100 unique roles that are either customer or partner facing. So as a seller in a customer account, you really, at any given time, you are probably collaborating with 20 internal Microsoft people to sell to that account or deliver projects in that account. Now, sometimes you kind of lose track of who you haven't talked to in a while. Maybe you haven't brought in your Azure SSP solution specialist in a while, or you haven't talked to your channel manager in a while. So again, really helping them understand what are all the different internal roles that they're collaborating with and who are the ones that they haven't checked in with in a while. So what we're trying to do is to really just take all the insights and learnings and best practices and feed them back to the sellers, which really is basically driving bottoms-up behavioral change in addition to the top-down.
And what's been the response that you've heard?
It's great. People love it. People love it. Yeah, people love it because they look at it and they say, "Oh my God, this is great. This is exactly what I did last week. Thank you for summarizing it for me, and also thank you for telling me what other people are doing so I can push myself, or that wow, I'm top of the class." So yeah.
Cool. We've got about 10 minutes left before I'm going to set aside some time for audience Q&A. But in that time, one of the questions that typically comes up when we talk to customers is around privacy and compliance. So if we could get a little bit of time from you, Dan, to talk about how your company has thought about privacy and compliance and what you've done to mitigate any questions there.
Right. So for us, since we're early on in the project and we're not global, we didn't do a global deployment. With our 1,000 licenses that we started with, we targeted U.S. folks. We did not go international with this. We got buy-in from our areas. We did go to our security, make sure that they were comfortable with the way the data was being presented. But again, the data is anonymized. So it's not like I can tell you that Dan Cohen is doing this. I can tell you an engineer or an architect in IT that with this type of characteristics is doing something, but I can't get down to it. So actually going through the review process and with those restrictions with targeting US, it was actually a fairly easy conversation for us.
Cool. And Aaron, what's the perspective that you have coming from a financial institution? I mean, that's a heavily regulated industry.
Yep. Yeah, so we have personal proprietary information. So mortgages obviously contain social security numbers, names, addresses, bank account information, job locations, stuff like that. So obviously, lot of very sensitive information from that standpoint, which doesn't really play into WPA, but just kind of gets to the question of how seriously we take privacy and security. So when we first brought Workplace Analytics on, our legal department went through everything. We had our kind of labor and employment people went through it. Our digital privacy people went through it. Compliance went through it, and we basically settled on this idea that, okay, we're going to put a couple restrictions in place. So it's already anonymized, so that's no big deal. We're not going to show any groups that are smaller than 5 or 10 people. So to the point that you were making, if you went down to a group of 3 people and they all have different characteristics, you could probably figure out who's who, right? That's not going to be hard. But so in order to avoid that type of situation, we just put an aggregation limit. So I simply can't run you data that's smaller than a certain population, and that's okay because the things that we want to do with the data, the places that it's most productive to be used, that's fine. I mean, we don't. It's not really that productive for these high-level trends for me to go down to individuals and figure that out. Mm-hmm. And then again, communicating that to the employees is a really big deal because you have their trust until you lose it, and if you lose it, it's very, very difficult to get it back. And our head of HR is involved in this. Our internal communications people are aware of what we're doing and kind of are going to help us with some of the messaging there. But the most powerful thing you can do is go straight to the employees and say, here's what we're doing, here's what we can't do, here's what we won't do, and here's why you're protected. And it went all the way up to our head of legal, our general counsel. He approved this stuff and he said, this is corporate data, so he feels okay with that. But even so, he wanted to make sure we had additional privacy. it's a very different conversation if you have to suddenly start explaining yourself and backtracking if people hear about things in the wrong way. So we just went straight to them, showed them exactly what we're doing, saying here's what we do, here's what we don't do, and here, we're not reading the bodies of your emails, we're not, looking at this, that, and the other thing, we're just trying to make your day better.
Great. And then, Sanaz, from your perspective, I know your team is setting up a data platform that's both secure from the beginning and then also enables you to connect to other corporate data resources. Can you talk about some of the things that have come up as far as privacy goes, and also at a high level from an architectural standpoint, what choices that you made?
Yeah, so pretty similar. We have a behavioral data platform where we pull data from across the company on different sources of data, sales data, customer satisfaction data. But we decided to actually spin up an Azure PaaS solution specifically for workplace analytics data, ring fence the data, and only have a few analysts have access to that data with signed NDAs. Our head of legal and HR privacy approved that. But even the data that they have is anonymized, so it's not that they know who the data belongs to, but they're also super users that they can work with the data, manipulate the data, and aggregate it at levels that when you present it to leaders, that it does not become identifiable. So kind of very similar. But then as we also want to join up that data with other data sets, every step of the way we
We joined a lot of the WPA data with performance data and with engagement survey data. Our company had an external vendor do it, so people do sometimes ask us, well, isn't that an issue? We pretty much just removed that completely by having an external firm join the data and then just provide us the high-level insights so that we don't have to personally do that. And that was a kind of a big requirement from HR in order to join those very sensitive data sets, because that has demographic information, race, gender, age, that sort of stuff that I don't want to touch that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But there could be powerful insights that are derived from that. We want to make sure people are treated fairly and all that. So
Great. So before we move on to audience questions, if each of you could just give a quick insight into the things that you're looking forward to in the coming year or so as you use Workplace Analytics, maybe some cool projects that you're looking at, or just interesting use cases.
Right. For us, it's really about how Workplace Analytics is expanding its base and where the data points are coming from. So right now, it only pulls emails and only pulls meeting information. Recently, it was announced that Skype for Business Online is now going to be able to pull in, so we'll be able to see some data there. I'm curious and anxiously been asking, is there going to be other sources of that information out there? So that's kind of where we're looking at. We as a company are heavily involved in use of Yammer, SharePoint. We've got 14,000 people using Teams on an active basis right now, at least as of last month's numbers. So there's a lot of other data points that we need to get to see how people are collaborating, working together, spending their time that's outside of email. So for us, that's one of the areas that we're really looking forward to. And then for us, the other area that I'd say is continuing to evolve this, take it from that top-down approach, really proceduralize this, and partner more from an IT perspective and with the business, find those additional insights that my colleagues up here have been able to do and really grow the solution. So a lot of growth yet and a lot of more data to come our way, I hope, and more insights.
Yeah, great.
So mine might be a little tough to explain without the picture, but we're using these organizational network maps where we're actually partnering very closely with Microsoft. You guys kind of do these for us at the moment, although my understanding is there will be a tool soon that will be able to do some of that. So envision, let's say we took a group of about 100 people, whether it's just one division or whether it's kind of an end-to-end process group, so you've got a group here, group there, group there. We can actually plot each person on a visual map they're closer to people who they interact with more. We can size their dot based on various different types of statistical measures, and we can see these really, we can basically view the information flow and the organizational structure as it relates to communication. So that's enabled us to do a couple really cool things. We have some really great use cases that our leaders are really excited about, and a lot of those really take place around some sort of transformation. So was there a leadership transformation? Was there a reorg? And we'll see, you know, one of the things that my group had done in the past was exercises around organizational layers, you know, how deep is the organization, spans of control, sort of management type metrics. You can do those exercises on paper by saying, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you're reporting to them, but really nothing's changing. You can't fool the network maps. So we've seen scenarios where, you know, people who are actually preparing the information have to go through 5, 6, 7, 10 critical nodes of, you know, other people are these nodes. They have to pass the information through this incredibly convoluted pathway in order to get into the central decision-making hub of the organization. And what we've seen is, you know, you look before and it's incredibly overlayered, you know, not on paper, but in reality. Mm-hmm. And then you look after the new leaders come in, or we've made some sort of, you know, high-level change, and you can actually see the organization shifting kind of on these visual maps. And when we initially started doing these, we thought they'd be confusing, but people actually have an easier time understanding those than anything else we do, because they can look at the map and say, oh, you know, that's Bob's team here, that's Susan's team there, you know, Jill's team's probably here. We don't have names for them, but as soon as they see it, they start putting it together. So we're very excited about those, and kind of the use cases continue to build for those. So really kind of cool data nerdy type stuff, but it gets us very excited.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so for us, I'd say we are a very impatient team, but very transparently, I think we still are not moving as fast as we really want to. And also, we still have a lot of manual steps along the way as we do our data joins and aggregation and analysis. And I would love to see a day where a lot of this stuff is automated and refreshed in real time, and we're like on to the next cool thing. So I really want us to not spend a lot of time repeating the things that we've already done and drive automation. So I would say that's a big thing for us that can really help us move faster, but also expand our let's say data set, right? So we have more visibility to how collaboration data connects with everything else basically that we do. So those are the two things for us.
Cool. Well, thank you to the panelists for talking about their experiences with Workplace Analytics and MyAnalytics. And if there's any questions from the audience, we have 2 mics here. We'd be happy to get those answered. And if not, then oh yeah, sure, come on. No.
Terrific presentation. Thank you all. I'm very intrigued about like how this supply of data is changing your organizations. You made some reference to it when you said that some standards were changing, and I think Sinaz, you also mentioned that you're sending out this report to everybody with some sort of guidance around what the sort of sweet spots are within their areas. Is it your teams who are sort of managing the sort of outcomes of the gathering of this data, or are you passing this on to somebody? Is your organization starting to look at this now as sort of a way to define how they move forward? I guess I'm really trying to get a sense of how much it's starting to actually change the day-to-day, and how much people are starting to look at these data and really let it sort of guide them on their path forward. So any comments around that?
Yeah, definitely. So maybe I'll start. So for us, it really started with experimentation, right? We weren't quite sure, right? So it wasn't something that we put out there and said, this is now the new manual, right? And even the leader of our team, the head of strategy, he was quite cautious. He was like, let's just test it out. Let's see how this goes. Months later, he told me the other day, he's like, how can we do this at scale? I want everybody to see this. I want all the leaders to have visibility. And I think it was a journey for him as well to kind of see us get more mature and get more comfortable with the data, get more comfortable with the messaging and how it's resonating, that cultural change towards, yeah, we're using data for good, right? We say AI for good, I think this is data for good, right? It's really about emphasizing those positive behaviors. So it really wasn't from day one, to be honest, it really took us some time to get to the point that now we're ready to say, now let's make this more available broadly. But again, because of the group sizes of, you want to always aggregate, right? So either directly data to the individuals, which is their data, that's fine. But at the second you want to aggregate and show insights, it really has to be at a high level enough that you're not giving away people's information.
So I think for us, I think I would break it up into two areas, right? You've got sort of behavior at a person level, which you want to change, and then you have behavior at a team or functional level, which is more of a strategic question. I'd say so far for us, we've had more success in the strategic functional area changes, and it really, we have had some success in the personal type stuff, but there's kind of a couple ways to go about pushing change. So number one is sometimes awareness is enough. So making people aware of the issue, some people, especially at our company, we have a lot of long tenured people, 15, 20, 25 years of the company. So they're in a habit, they're in a routine, and the way things are done is simply the way that they see them. And if you can just shake people out of that thought process, then they start to challenge the status quo. And that's stuff that isn't so much hands-on for us as simply displaying and saying, here, in your area, you appear to have a problem with this. Are you experiencing that? And people nod their heads, and then we'll say, here's how you might go about attacking that or thinking about that. And then they can take it upon themselves to do that. And then at a high level, we can measure some of that change. And then at a team level, a lot of it is more hands-on with the leadership themselves. So they see some data and they say, okay, how are we going to functionally change who does what and what goes where? That's in some ways easier because it comes from a centralized place. I do think our company is very excited about the MyAnalytics dashboard because we think it'll enable a lot of that person-level behavioral change because we've exposed people to these ideas, right? You want your meetings to be grouped in your calendar. You don't want this calendar fragmentation. You want big networks. You want one-on-one time with your manager. We can produce those analytics at a high level, but we think that once we have the person-level dashboards, we're going to have a lot more opportunity to enact some of that personal behavioral change. And a lot of that is programmatic, right? So we're partnering with HR, trying to get some training involved. When new people get onboarded, they're going to be trained immediately on these types of ideas. So some of that change will be gradual, but I would say we've had kind of more success with the leadership themselves in changing their behavior because they have a direct lever of power to pull for that.
So it sounds like at a high level, your teams play more of a role in the identification of insights and identification of opportunities for change. And then you work with your functional leaders to actually execute that change. And then you use the data that's available to report progress. And are those changes actually taking effect? And if they are, double down. If not, try something new.
Yeah, that's a good summary. And I do think we're moving. Our group is moving into the area of more hands-on change exercise. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a good summary for how we work right now.
Great, thanks. Any other questions from the audience?
I was sort of pulled into this session by the 50% failure rate on transformations. And I was wondering, the things that you're doing with Workplace Analytics is really interesting, and it will result in a lot of positive things. But I was wondering, for all the other things that you are working on with the behavioral analytics in other systems, is there going to be any tooling to help other organizations do that? Because it doesn't seem something that's on the horizon right now, is it?
Yeah, I will say that with Workplace Analytics as a product, our focus has been on providing this data and then working with our customers to help them identify how they can leverage this data for their specific use cases. We haven't focused as much on providing the tooling for the specific types of analytics. That being said, we are moving in that direction. We have a new product offering that we're recently launching. It's called Solutions. Right now we have a Solutions for Teamwork. So it's an offering that helps identify opportunities using Workplace Analytics for change, and then it automatically links MyAnalytics so that change can be deployed at an individual level. Teamwork Solutions is the first offering that we've created. We're also creating other offerings, I think, for, I don't know, different use cases that we've identified as important. So sales productivity, leadership effectiveness, and things like that. So that's the approach that we're taking now. But I will say, in general, our strength is in the data and layering on the sophisticated intelligence and making it customizable in a way that you can use it to approach your problems using whatever tooling that you're comfortable with.
Can you talk a little bit about how you assign a resource to actually help us with the data? And now, because to us, that was one of the key things when we went into this, and it became exponentially helpful because we weren't alone with just a technology.
Yeah, and I think that's a common problem is this behavioral lens is something completely new for customers. So understanding the metrics that are out there and how these metrics can be used to apply to specific business cases, it takes some familiarization and getting used to. So our team, it's called Fast Track, but we basically work with new customers to bring them on board to the platform, and then we develop hypotheses about the business problems that you're thinking about that are important for you and your executives. And then we work with you to figure out different ways that you can use metric customization to get glimpses of how that problem is actually impacting your company and finding both leading and lagging indicators so that you can both target very specific things to change, and then ahead of time you can start seeing, is change actually progressing in a positive direction? All right, well, if there's no more questions, there are 5 other sessions that we are hosting at Ignite. I'd encourage you to attend all of these because they're great and the team delivering them is great. But yeah, and visit us at our booth in the Expo Center, and we're happy to have additional conversations with you. And then also, we'll be here after the session to answer any one-off questions that you might have. Thank you.